right, I think we're about to begin. Is there less echo, or so it's less loud for me? Otherwise, I'm scaring myself. Everybody hear me okay? Too loud? Too much? It's good? All right, my name is Nikita Polikov. I'm a senior fast track solution architect. I work in a customer and partner success team at Microsoft within the product group. And today our topic is Dynamics 365 portals. We'll put a lens of customer service at it, but we'll talk about the general use cases as well. So the objectives are today. Help you understand what our portal technology is, be able to see some of these portals, understand some of the new features and capabilities that we're bringing, and hear from customer stories. I think customer stories is an important part for us to showcase how some of our customers are using this technology. And we'll wrap up with best practices and some of the resources that we'll provide. First of all, I'm really excited to talk to you about portals. I've been in this space with CRM products, been in this space with Dynamics, and always had some kind of an experience building either a custom bespoke portal from my customers, working with ADX Studio portals that later Microsoft acquired, which gave birth to our software as a service portal product that you guys are going to see today. But if you exit this room, exit maybe this conference hall and ask anybody at a few different other conferences that are going on around this town what they think portal means. Or even if you were at another event, even within your organization, and go ask, what do you define portal? It's going to mean different things to different audiences. Right? For some of them, somebody in Azure is going to think maybe it's an administrative experience where they go and tinker and do administrative and IT settings. When you think about somebody that could be an IT productivity or business analyst, they might be thinking about something related to document management and SharePoint. And only some of us in Dynamics are thinking about portals and how our portal product actually approaches it. So today I want to make sure that we talk about what our portal product does well, your options around portals as they relate to Dynamics 365 customer engagement, the scenarios that address common CRM use cases, and beyond as we talk about common data service. Even before that, foundationally, why should you even care about a portal experience for your customer engagement scenarios? Well, as you guessed it, because digital transformation. Those of you counting how many times we've mentioned digital transformation, there's a very specific reason why. If you've seen the way that we're feeding digital feedback loops, the portal experience is actually extremely important to that. And it's extremely important to that because it allows you to engage with audiences external to your organization. When you think about Dynamics customer engagement and the use cases, I was thinking about the use cases that address your employees' productivity, the outcomes of the line of business applications and systems, where portals address actually engaging with that data set via the external parties that are not within the domain of your entire your organization. The importance of collecting the data signals, allowing that audience to interact in real time with the line of business data that's within your line of business systems from your external partners, customers, vendors, distributors is an important part that's going to allow you to enrich that digital feedback loop. And that's why it's so important for you to consider a portal strategy if you don't already have one for engaging with those audiences. Today we're going to talk about specifically one product. Microsoft Dynamics 365 portals. There are other products that you can use for this type of a workload, and there's bespoke and custom options that you can also use to address this need for your customers or yourself. The Dynamics portal, the way I really look at what does it do well and what's the simplest way that I can explain what it does, it's a quick go-to-market solution that allows you to quickly get to an outcome. Allows you to quickly configure a portal, quickly get your experience of Dynamics customer engagement, and expose that. As we know, and as you're picking up, and more we're talking about this Power Platform, Dynamics 365 customer engagement is running on common data service. So we're also going to be talking about the common data service in the same breath, and you'll see me kind of start to simplify. Our portal product comes with a tremendous amount of features. So much that there's week-long workshop classes on portals and training material, and you'll still be able to maybe not even touch some of these features that are shown here. This is why. Why versus building a bespoke portal from scratch matters is because we ship with many, many, many features out of the box. We also allow you to quickly realize value by having templates pre-built out of the box. So customer service templates that we have are available for you to get started. We have a community portal if you want to engage communities of your external things. If you wanted to get a partner audience and other add-ons and portals that are available. But really, what do we do really, really well? Why pick us? And it's so important to understand the value proposition of picking any of our technology. The Dynamics 365 suite of products is an immense product suite. And every time you pick one of our products, you want to make sure that you can quickly and clearly articulate why you're picking it, or why you're picking it for yourself or for your customers. Well, first of all, we have pre-built templates to allow you to get started quickly. Even more importantly, what's really radically cool and interesting about actually having our portals is that this content management system is right within CDS. It's right within that Dynamics 365 for the user. So your line of business application users, your analyst, or somebody empowered with that access as you choose, will be able to drive that content with Dynamics. That's what's cool and interesting about this product. Additionally, obviously, because we're a global organization, Dynamics 365 is being consumed worldwide in many different languages. We do support all of those languages as well. So everywhere we have Dynamics 365, we're also supporting our portals experiences. You get to fully control your content. You get to go down and have a full fidelity experience to go down and control all of the HTML, all of the CSS, all of the images that are driven by this portal. So you are fully in ultimate control of what's being produced. Our SaaS service is fast and reliable. It's one of the value propositions for you for moving and getting into a product like this, is that you don't have to worry about uptime, running servers, picking the right hosting technology, and even worrying about a lot of those things. External users, because they're not users in Dynamic, are going to need some kind of a security model. And we pre-built you a security model foundation that you can use and extend and customize to your business needs. You're not stuck with our version or interpretation of it, but we do have a space for you to define what that security system is. That's also important to make sure that you versus building something yourself. Additionally, how users log in. What is that log on that they're using to get into this portal? We support all the industry standards for you to be able to log in. So if you already had a website or already had an engagement or a place where your customer logged on, very likely we already support that standard, and you can use that log on to get into the portal. Why it's important to support external identity providers, because if you wanted to have a mobile application or other experiences later, your customer has one partner ID or one customer ID that they use, and they don't have separate logons. Customers really hate when they have separate logons to deal with that. But even more importantly, the core value proposition here is that you can easily interact with CDS data. Right? The CDS data is Dynamics 365 data, and that's what we do really, really, really well. When we look at the lens of customer service, the expectation and benefits from the customer's perspective are fairly clear. You want to be able to find information, and you want to be able to understand any kind of support ticket status or be able to create one. But really, you wanted to get this experience done with. Nobody goes to customer support for happy experiences. They don't go to customer support and say, I want to discuss something fantastic. That's probably a review website, maybe a feedback form somewhere. Usually the feedback is, I have to deal with something, and I'd like to get it over with as fast as possible, on my own time, anywhere I can. As the business, you want to be able to potentially publish the knowledge or information, right? In Dynamics 365 customer engagement, we have a fantastic pipeline for you to manage knowledge, author, review, publish this kind of content within your customer care and contact centers. You can reuse the same knowledge-based articles within the portal. And that's some of the needs for the businesses, is to share that information with the customers so they'll be able to self-service themselves on the exact same information that the customer care individuals have. You also want to be able to provide maybe a self-service capability so customers can and external parties can understand the case status that they have, a request status, a ticket status, and be able to self-service themselves on even providing that. But really what they're looking for is reducing time to resolution for you yourself as a customer, and for them to be able to frankly deflect a channel and agent cost, right? There is a business outtake that is expected there in customer service experiences. More specifically, how Dynamics 365 portals will address customer service use cases, that obviously, because the portal is up anytime, it is hosted by us, customers can access it anywhere and on any device. Our portal templates come out of the box with the Bootstrap technology that allows it to be reflow and render itself on mobile, tablet, desktop, devices, support many browsers, and it is accessible from any device where we need. The customer demands are also shifted. Most people do want to solve the problem themselves. Most people go and try to find the answer online. You having a portal experience or a customer care portal allows those individuals to be able to find it through an online search, find out that there is actually a customer care portal and there's information that's published there. The knowledge-based article information is posted to the online, and because it is posted to the online, now we can actually get search engines to pick it up, and as customers are making these searches online, they'll be able to find that information and self-service themselves. Once they log in, they'll be able to obviously understand their own service history and check status of their ticket if the item's been resolved or if my issue is addressed. Obviously, it speaks their language, and they're able to maintain their profile and preferences, being able to quickly update their email address, contact information, or any other key information as you design and articulate to them through the portal experience. They know their data is secure because it is protected by a logon, and they see the same data. That's the key value. Because I know and I go many times and use a portal experience from any other service organization, I know I'm updating my contact information. I know if the organization needs to contact me, they can see that experience for me. So let's take a quick look through our portal demo, and we'll get to the remainder of the slides. So on our portal, we're looking at a very basic portal template that we have for customer self-service. What I've done here for this demo is I've deployed our actual trial environment, went to our administration, went to the portal add-on, and deployed a customer self-service add-on. All right. Test, test, test. All right. Thank you. Sorry about the technical difficulty. All right. Get my time back on the clock? No, I'm just kidding. All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So as we talked about it, this is our out-of-the-box template. You see this right out of the box, and this is deployed on some sample data. So if I'm a customer and I'm coming into your support portal and you deploy this, and I want to maybe find some information, be able to see the results. The results that I'll be able to see are between knowledge articles that I've posted, maybe some forum posts that I have out there, maybe some web pages that have that content. So it indexes all of the content that you have and provides that by choice, right? So there's a set of knowledge articles that this system is designed to show. And in this case, you can see that, that we're looking for a product that was damaged in shipping. Usually here, the ultimate scenario, and this is what every customer care organization and every customer wants. They want to get somewhere, quickly find their answer, and get out. So we can see that something matches our topic here for how to return a defective item. And this says RMA, and I've had really bad experiences with RMA. And maybe I want to ignore this information, or maybe this information didn't meet my needs and I have something else to do. I see that there's a support link. And when I go here, okay, what can I help you with? My product was damaged. Okay. It's trying to deflect me off of creating a support ticket again. Now, in here I can see that I can review. Maybe I typed in a better definition of what I'm looking for, and we had one more chance to actually create that case. If this still didn't meet my needs, skipping all of the registration and how do we get there, let's imagine we've already done that process, and we're logged in with a customer. When we follow the same process again, we can do this process and can review that. No, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to go ahead and open a customer care ticket. When I'm opening that ticket, I'm going to go to the title, type in my problem. It continues to try to deflect me out in the cases. Maybe it just keeps expecting that I'll do a better description. But it's that one last shot for you to make sure that they're providing that information. I can fill in more information here, attach files, provide any evidence, but I'm able to do that without having to call, visit in person, or do a chat experience with a live agent. So that's what's going to allow a business to deflect some of those costs. If I go back here, and I was actually more vigilant, and I logged into this experience, I see that there's actually a case in the past that's open for me. Oh, defective item when delivered. Okay, maybe that's a different way of saying product was damaged when it was shipped. Let me take a look at this. Oh, this was open just earlier. I can see what the description is. And there's actually a comment here, which, oh, they tried reaching me, but they couldn't. Wonder why that was. Let me check my profile information, see what phone number is listed. I see that my phone number listed here is actually incorrect. So I'm able to update my phone number and be able to update my profile and now be able to make sure that now a contact center person can contact me. That's one of the very silly use cases. I know your organization probably has a lot more elaborate use cases, and our customers and partners are able to customize this experience to their needs. You'll be able to see that the same information, okay, is available in Dynamics for you. So this data specifically is going and addressing data directly in Dynamics in real time. So as I'm making updates to this case, that data is being reflected in CDS, in Dynamics 365 customer engagement. So as your caseworkers or anybody is getting managing and working on this case, they'll be able to address that information. The profile updates that I'm making are happening in real time. As I'm publishing the information back from the customer care, this is addressing that need. Yeah, there's a the question was, we'll be able to see who made the information. And the system user actually makes the information because it's a system integration. But there's actually a capability for every form that you define for insert or an update activity. You can actually configure through the form metadata a way for actually to provide what contact was logged on when they made that. So you can actually create a field that says modified by a contact that actually save that experience and be able to do, maybe a different business logic based on who updated that and create kind of an experience where you can see who addressed it. Now this was a customer care scenario. I want to show you how to actually build this type of portals. So first of all, in Dynamics, we actually have an app here for managing portals. It's called Portal Management. So when you go and deploy the portal from the portal add-on, we have all of this documented for you online. I'll give you some links to take home. We can see all of our website information, all the websites that are deployed in this Dynamics instance. We can see web page content that's deployed here for us, and we can see that there is localized content, and we can go and administer this content. And we actually have the editor right here. This is that value proposition of having this content management system right in Dynamics, is that through configuration, if you choose to, you can expose it to certain users within the business, and they can go and manage some of this content, right? We do have the knowledge article content, which also is basically a pipeline for you to build specific knowledge articles and provide them, or you can give access to somebody that's maybe a designated portal administrator, and they can go and modify this content. Why that's important, where you as a customer or your customers are interested in managing this content themselves, and the value proposition of Dynamics portals that you didn't have to engage an expensive set of custom developers to do a lot of this basic content management, and they're able to self-service themselves on that experience. If we wanted to get down and manage all of the content, I mentioned you can control the content down to the HTML level. We have the web templates published, so that, for example, this homepage screen here, I can go and modify and edit and view not only how we've built the portal itself, if you're trying to learn to understand why certain HTML content is there. So if you start from the maker almost experience of somebody managing the content and having those easy experiences to manage the content, and jump into somebody that maybe during the initial configuration is interested in really going down to final fidelity into HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all those almost web developer words, they'll be able to go ahead and see how our portal is made and modify just about everything. One of the use cases I want to talk about is, because of the value proposition is being able to surface CDS data. And this would apply to your CDS and model-driven applications, and we do support any custom entities. For example, if we had an account list and we have a partner directory and we wanted to surface this partner directory to our external users, well, here we have a view of our accounts called Partner Directory View. I can go and build an entity list for Partner Directory, pick my entity accounts, and provide that I want to use the Partner Directory View, and I'm able to use that within the portal. All I do then is place it on the web page, and I'm able to see that on my website. So this is our native grid support. So portals, technically, it's really its own player. Right? It's looking at that metadata, it's connected to your CDS instance, and as you're defining web pages and you're pointing to the metadata definitions of views and forms, it's going ahead and rendering that for you, and you didn't have to build any code to do so. The value proposition of you being able to reuse the configuration of the metadata of these views and forms is that you as a system customizer or you as a customer already know how to configure dynamics, already know how to configure dynamics, views, and forms, and you're going to use that same exact pipeline to deliver some of this data interaction for your portal users. Well, this is kind of, I'll say, a lame partner directory. If we had a lot of partners, maybe. This filtering is okay. It lifts here, but it's fantastic. What if I wanted to take that up a notch? Maybe I want to add a style sheet. But if you see, not a lot has changed. When I add a style sheet, I'm bringing in fonts, maybe some spacing, and in this one specifically, there's fonts and colors, but it didn't fundamentally change the look and feel of this experience. This is where we have technology like liquid styling technology that we can add to maybe render something a little more interesting, maybe put some emojis and highlight some of our gold and platinum partners and provide a much easier to read partner directory. So for these kind of rendering experiences, we can use liquid technology here in the web templates. Our web templates here, and this is something that, when you bring in somebody moving away from that maker configurator from Dynamics into a little bit somebody that has a little bit more web development background, they're going to be able to come in and use this technology to really tweak and empower you to see that data in a little bit more of an exciting way. So here we're actually reusing the definition of that view, partner directory, even the same columns in that same view, and we're taking that data and just looping through it and doing a little bit more dressing to give our users that perspective. All right. So this is just a flavor. You can do a lot more, and I actually have a fantastic resource for you for some hands-on labs to see more of experience and train on portals, and our documentation is up to date. And at Business Application Summit, we just released our release notes on some of the things that we're going to do moving forward. But before we get to that, let's talk about portal use cases. Now, we do look at the things in this session through a lens of customer service, but we can go beyond that. This traditional sense of case management on portals, I really want to say, don't think about it just as case management. Right? It's not about that. It's about submitting and tracking information. You have a capability with a portal that allows you to expose any kind of service ticket, question, request, or process. So if you have a process for a dispute, if you have a process for a complaint, a question, or something else that might not even have to address a traditional case management, the case management capability in Dynamics does address that and can address that and provide all of those benefits, but it can let you scale. That's really what it's for, being able to self-service and externalize that information. When you think about knowledge management, right, and being able to publish those knowledge articles, it's really just information. You have a pipeline of information in Dynamics for publishing it, and you can expose that on a portal, and by choice, and you can actually have capability where if you wanted to have a fully private portal where you log on to be able to even see knowledge articles, search anything on the portal, obviously see any cases, you can totally do so. But if you do choose to have more of an anonymous access like our default reference template has, and be able to publish that knowledge information, the power of a Dynamics user, the business user, to be able to have a pipeline to publish content online that's going to get indexed by search engine is pretty powerful, and nobody had to go hire custom development. Right? And it allows them, obviously, to scale and reduce load on support organizations because that information is published. But it doesn't even have to be support information. It could be my product catalog or other information that could be useful in this sense. And this is where CDS, right, your anything portal, because you can build anything in model-driven experiences. These are your custom entities. You can expose any process to your users. And as I said, because that data is actually addressed in real time into the CDS instance and users in Dynamics see it, it allows you to tie in all of the actual customization business processes that you guys have in your in mind. Specifically moving to roadmap and product strategy, our Dynamics 365 portals enables organizations to obviously extend the external users and surface the Power Platform. If you sneaked a little bit of a peek, We've announced that today. But what we're focused on always, as a SaaS service, our promise to you is to make sure we're running a solid and stable service and continuing to optimize performance, reliability, and scalability of our service. We're going to continue to invest in capabilities to extend the Power Platform to external users. And Power Platform goes beyond just Dynamics 365 for customer engagement. Our integration expectations, of course, at Microsoft, you expect all the Microsofts to play well together. So expectation of an integration with SharePoint, Power BI, or other experiences is something that you might have. Obviously, Azure Active Directory for your employee scenario, so that maker experience, you expect that the user can log in with that same login that they're using for Dynamics, and you can address that. Dynamics Azure Active Directory for business to consumer is our go-to choice for external user identities. That's the identity provider that you can use to integrate with Facebook, Twitter, or your own custom identity provider, or maybe identity provider of your partner organization. If you have a partner organization where you know they're going to bring their own identities, they can integrate that to that identity provider and use that as a bridge. And investing in extensibility. So there's going to be more investment in extensibility, but the extensibility sometimes comes a couple of gotchas. So one of the things that we have is actually shipping configuration health. You've seen Solution Checker, you've seen Solution Health, you've seen all of our investments and all of our maker experiences across Power Platform and Dynamics in allowing you to self-serve yourself as a configurator, making sure you didn't make any mistakes, or if there's a suggestion or maybe a tweak that you should be doing. Our portal diagnostic tool is available. There's a URL there. This is live today. What we're continuing to do is adding more rules to it. So as we add more rules and find things that could be optimized that our customers could be doing as they're configuring the portal, this tool will let you surface it, and it's deployed out there in the portal configurator. Our support has access to that, so when you have a portal issue, please run the portal checker diagnostic tool and make sure that you don't see any obvious issues of what you need to address, and it might give you a clue of what potentially could be missing or could be optimized in your portal. I've showed a little bit of a flavor of what is actually how to build an experience out of CDS. But when you think about the functional architecture here, thank you. When you think about the functional architecture here, the more I turn to the left, it keeps happening. When we look at the functional architecture, it's all built on the foundation of CDS for apps. Portal's app itself has no data set. Its entire data set, its entire configuration is stored in CDS. So when you go and deploy that portal, well, it takes a little bit of time actually, it's going deploying a lot of specific data sets. Now we default a lot of the strings and we have a lot of the out-of-the-box experiences ready to go. You can fully override most of that configuration, but all of it is housed in CDS. The actual portal content, right? Everything from hello to Contoso, a word you never use on your actual website, right? Every single string of text for the portal content itself, images, assets, you can port it right inside the CDS for apps. And obviously your business data. What's business data? Your contacts, accounts, cases, knowledge-based information, all that lives in CDS. We show you that I had a view there of the partner directory. That was a CDS view. And I've used an entity list, placed it on the web page, and that's how our users were able to see the partner directory on a portal. The portal app itself is really a content renderer. It comes with some of the capabilities like logon and other integration technology that surfaces as you've configured it. This is really the simplest way to think about it and be able to understand functionally and at the high level what is the portal's architecture and what it's able to do for you. As you can imagine, with that architecture, Dynamics 365 for customer engagement might be an optional piece. And to hear more about where we're taking the roadmap for Dynamics 365 in the Power Platform, there's a full breakout session in what's new and the roadmap for that maker experience and how we're going to be addressing the Power Platform. I want to start talking about some of the customer stories. The customer stories that we have here start with public engagement. And public engagement, citizen services, any way that you want to put, have nothing to do with citizen developer, all have to do with organizations in government, public service that are serving us as citizens, as taxpayers, as residents, as of organizations. The first story we have is from City of Phoenix. City of Phoenix actually previously, as a citizen, if you wanted to go and find out information from a jurisdiction, you not only had to go likely in person or maybe wait in phone queue, you had to go to different departments to go access maybe your utilities information, maybe you wanted to request a water quality report, or you wanted to go to police and make a complaint or other things. You potentially had to go to those jurisdictions specifically and go file for that, maybe with a paper process, join a physical queue potentially in some of those places, and address that. As part of the omni-channel citizen engagement and digital transformation at City of Phoenix, they've launched Phoenix at Your Servers, PACE for short, which is a portal for citizens to engage with the city. And there's many services. They've obviously started one at a time there to providing self-service for many of these type of requests that you have with the city. You're obviously using Dynamics 365 case management for all the routing and assigning internally, but all of the things that we just saw, the realizing value of that self-service and that real-time capability of the citizen to be able to consume that data. The solution components are Dynamics 365 customer engagement, obviously the portal component. They did use a solution accelerator from KPMG called Velocity 365 that allowed them to have some of the template for some of these use cases so they can even faster realize value. And they're using Azure Active Directory Business to Consumer for that citizen logon identity. And that's allowing them to have their users log in. They started the project in 2017 and started doing that at a pace that was comfortable for them and as their departments were ready for that transformation, right? Because you not only can just launch the portal, you also need to make sure that the case management and routing systems and all those were actually ready for each department, and they were onboarded and ready to use the system and then turn that over to citizens for self-service through the portal from that experience. One of the exciting new features that they shared with us that they've launched recently is actually being able to request police records. City of Phoenix Police Department uses body cameras when they're on duty, and you, as a citizen, are able to address and request that information, and you can do so through their portal. Now, some of these cases require you to pay a processing fee and do so. KPMG was able to deliver a custom implementation for a payment provider to be able to actually have somebody pay for this and self-service them fully online. So I want to thank City of Phoenix for sharing their story with us, and move on to the next one. Volunteer organizations. Now, many of you are part of, there's a big center booth here at the expo here around Dynamics communities and all of the engagements, right? Many of you are part of any clubs or was ever in any organization. I personally, for almost 2 decades, have relished in being part of technical communities, right? Technical communities that are volunteering driven, that are helping organizations. But there's a category of volunteer organizations that's helping when things are kind of tough, or maybe when disasters hit. Our next story is Team Rubicon. Team Rubicon is a veteran-based disaster response volunteer organization of over 100,000 volunteers. That's a pretty big organization. That's a lot of people to manage. This organization is using Dynamics portals to manage their volunteer base across the United States and beyond. And they're working to provide and mitigate complete training, certify, and be able to manage the deployment, share the information with those volunteers when they need to go and address a specific disaster that's happening and manage the disaster operations. If you're interested in this and your skill sets could be applied, look at the website, please. The solution components here, a little more extensive. They're doing a lot of things here. There's Dynamics 365 customer engagement, project service automation for actually queuing up and project planning some of these activities, and marketing for the event management component. For coordination, obviously portals, There's actually Dynamics integration for portals with Power BI. So there's some of the reporting capability put into Dynamics portals to see some data. And again, they're using Azure Active Directory Business to Consumer as their identity profile. So the first thing you'll do if you're joining that website, you'll see the screen on the right to joining the team. And that's actually being served out of Azure Active Directory Business to Consumer. Once you register, you created your logon. And as you log in, you can then manage more. The project scope began in November 2018 with initial version to drive regional events and trainings. I wanted to make sure that their volunteers were ready for deployment. And as we reach the summer 2019, we're focusing on adding support for operations. The team at Whipfly helped actually deliver this technology for our customer. You can see in the screenshot here how Andrew is able to self-manage their contact information, see which territory he's participating in addressing, and be able to update their external training and certifications. It's important for this organization when they go and deploy their volunteers that everybody is on the same page and have some expected basic skills when addressing some of these disaster situations, and that's why certification management is important for them to understand and make sure that they're picking the right volunteers for the right activities and that they have a match and who's able to help. Andrew then is able to see his deployment details, so when the actual event is engaged, they're able to go in and see all of the information that they need for their deployment. This Power BI integration is used in an event map so they can see all of the things going on, and unfortunately there's a lot of things going on usually in the region as large as United States. So again, if you have the type of skill set that is applicable here, we do urge you to volunteer and support this organization. If you wanted to learn more about the actual customer story and in depth about the solution here, because there's a lot of moving pieces and components, I urge you to take the moment to read the customer success story found inside of the Whipfly's website. If we go back to the story about professional and volunteer organizations, I mentioned I was part of a lot of technical organizations. One of the lifebloods of those organizations was actually the speakers. The speakers and volunteers that are taking their time to organize the event, put it together, announce it, gist it, advertise it, organize everybody. But the speakers and the content and the sharing of that content is so important. It's done fantastic things for my career and allowed me to be where I am. But there's many organizations like that have needs around organization, and it's really tough to do so. Our next story is Minnesota Chapter of PMI. Project Management Institute is an organization that works around Minnesota area, and actually is a chapter and combination of a number of regional chapters. And there's actually 21 chapters that are sharing speakers, volunteers, and resources. So this organization teamed up with our partner to deliver a management experience that they can manage the entire speaker and volunteer workflow for their organization. The solution components here were Dynamics 365 customer engagement. They're using both sales and service modules, and Dynamics 365 for marketing for event management capability. And that's surfaced through the portals, through the event portal, and providing customization to speaker self-service. TriMax Secure did the solution design and delivery here for this customer. See on the right, you'll be able to see the events, register for them. So obviously as people who are attending these events, they'll be able to see the information. But as a speaker or a manager, what's important for coordination of this, depending on the rights that you have in the system, they've designed a system that allows them for speaker management to see a list of events and maybe announce something that I'm able to assist or participate in. And if I have presentations, and obviously if I'm a registered speaker, to allow all the rest of the chapters to see that I'm available for engagement. There's a robust knowledge management system that was built to help volunteers manage content. So there's specific things that they want volunteers to do, and they've built articles of how to address that. So as volunteers sign up before they can come in and help with an event, if they wanted to understand how do I help with registration, they've written training and onboarding materials for volunteers so they can scale out and standardize that and provide higher quality of service to their members. In an event management solution specifically, there was actually a lot of functionality delivered here that this organization was able to realize. In the value proposition and actual KPIs, because PMI of Minnesota was able to switch to this system, they're actually able to displace their reliance on an event management company. So saving that organization a lot of time. These organizations are fairly lean, and the more that they can use to return back and higher quality speakers or better products and better organization of events and services for their members is important for them. So they're able to actually take a lot of that event management because of the capability and technology that Dynamics 365, event management, a custom solution that Trimax was able to develop them for them to service that versus relying on a vendor that was handling their event management for them. Additionally, we talked about this knowledge management and volunteer onboarding. Their volunteer onboarding and knowledge management was actually able to help them actually address deflection of cases, because when those volunteers have questions, other volunteers have to come up and answer. So they had to actually realize a lot of value in actual case deflection of actual volunteers asking more questions. So they're able to provide some training, and they had a lot of engagement on that capability. We wanted to thank all of our customers who share their story and continue to welcome you to join and share your stories in future events and online. We want to switch to best practices. When we talk about best practices, I represent the group at Microsoft within the product engineering called Customer and Partner Success. And over the last 3+ years, I was able to see a lot of customer cases, issues, and problems that some of our customers had with the portal solutions. So I wanted to share with you a couple of tips and best practices that hopefully if you keep in mind, you'll have one of the successful stories. And we have over 10,000 portals that are live today. There's a lot of customers using this product. But out of the few that maybe had some issues, let's share a couple of things and maybe we'll learn a lesson. How many of you heard of this 80-20 rule? You guess how I'm going to apply it here? Our branding color might give it away. The 80% should be accomplished with what's out of the box, and 20% is the customization. So what's really important for Dynamics portals is when we talked about the value proposition of us being quick to configure, quick go-to-market solution for exposing CDS data to external audiences. If the use case of what you're trying to address fundamentally is extremely beyond or very different than what I just described, might not be the case. So what's important here is that to make sure that the customization and how much you're doing on top of Dynamics portal doesn't outweigh the out-of-the-box features and value propositions. For example, when you surface that data, as we showed here in the partner example, in that use case, maybe it did make sense to use Liquid technology and present a fancier, nicer-looking partner directory. But when we're talking about bringing in custom code to fully revamp some of our UI and reduce some of that capability to provide lists or forms, you're replacing some of the capability that actually is the value proposition, for example, of the maker and customizer in the business to be able to quickly change what's on those forms or what's in those views that's driven by out-of-the-box features. So it's just important to make sure that you're aligning to that. But as you saw today, even in examples, none of the portals that we showed in customer stories and many more that I've seen look like one another. You can customize and style and change the experience of your portals as much as you want. But if your use cases are drastically skewed against using our features, or maybe you're surfacing data that doesn't live in CDS or Dynamics, maybe some of those use cases are not really good fits for Dynamics portal. So just want to make sure that primarily what you're addressing with the portal experience here addresses what we do well, as we discussed earlier in the presentation in some of the value propositions. There's only really three steps around the project that can deliver you being happy with the outcome here. First is strong value proposition. We just talked about that, and a solution fit. And the way to actually address that is by education. I'll share with you some of the resources where the education lives and how we enable you to self-service yourself on that. Next is the solid delivery and design, right? Are you working with an organization? Do you have the right team members engaged in the portal project? There's some skills that I'll share with you in upcoming slides about what does that mean? What type of skills and capabilities for my team do I need to bring to the table to be able to execute on this type of a project? Dynamics portal projects are slightly different than your regular Dynamics projects themselves. And then you, as the customers, also have to take some of the ownership or engage in a support or technical plan with someone for the actual maintain and ownership. I always say when you launch your website, it's just the beginning of the next project, because what do you want to do immediately after? Continue building it. There's always business backlog or wish list that you have, and as you're going to continue to involve that, as a customer, as you take in ownership of these portals, you need to understand, how do I support them? How do I do this change management? Nikita showed me that I can go and change the text on my homepage. What if I need to do that? Some of the things, and who's going to actually operate that in my organization? Who I'm going to give the keys to be able to manage that portal within my production instance, right? Because it's a SaaS service, we do updates and service updates, and it's important for you to understand, and how do we actually able to opt into maybe early update, right? And there's some activities there for you to be able to make sure that you know how to operate this portal. Because it is externally facing, businesses usually care a little more about what's happening there than they do a little bit with their employee-facing systems like Dynamics. So it's important to understand, what do you do after you go live just as well? We'll pause a little bit about talking about having the right team and the composition of the team members, right? We all here have skill set potentially in working with Dynamics, customizing it, implementing it. But what about portal projects? What's different about it? Well, actually interesting, only 1/5 of the skill sets for Dynamics portals is Dynamics itself. Because if you wanted to take and have some of these highly styled, personalized, customized experiences, there's other skill sets that are needed. The good news is you probably already have some of those skill sets on your team. You just might not be identifying them today, right? You have a senior consultant, functional consultant, an analyst, and an architect on your project. Where's my web developer? Well, your project manager maybe could have done web development in his past job. I was a .NET developer in my past job, so I have experience with most of those things. Maybe somebody that's a project manager used to do marketing and publishing and has experience with graphics. A good example of that is, you don't want to go to the marketing team and say, hey, can you give me a couple logos? And you're just going to take that and put it on your header of your website. Well, you're just taking a 6 MB print-ready image and place it on top of your header that's loading at every page. Luckily, the browsers will take care of that and cache it for you on repeat loads. But there's a lot of use cases that I've seen sometimes where maybe not having experience with graphics or understanding, frankly, the web and web development capabilities could have been of a valuable skill set. But as I said, we make the maker experience pretty easy for you. You'll see tomorrow how we're going to continue to do that in the Power Platform and our use in portal technology there. And you all in Dynamics will reap the rewards of the new maker experiences and the investments that are happening there. So all you do is just make sure you ask your team implementing the portals yourself. You very likely have this experience, potentially in graphics and CSS. You probably have maybe a marketing department that owns the website. I'm sure they're going to pipe up at some point where you're going to ask them to give you a URL and to be able to actually join this portal to what that web property is. So they'll probably get engaged with them anyways, and they can provide some of the graphics, assets, and you can show them the portal, and it can give you a style sheet that talks to your fonts, colors, and be able to massage some of that data. So there's good news here. I just want to make sure you're taking the stock and inventory of what you're doing within that. As an implementation team, many times, if you're going in and replacing a portal that's already there, many times you also have to have a conversation about, well, what do I do with the identity and the logon? People really like to not have to change their logons. So depending on the technology, if there was an external identity provider used, you can reuse that in our portal, and the customer just logs in and sees their cases, sees their contact information just as they expect it to, and they don't have to do this identity provider migration as well when you're in the replace scenario. So it's important that somebody on your team, or maybe on a customer's team, or maybe an IT team and governance, understands some of these security questions around identity on your team. But it's important to not understaff the portal projects and give them a little bit more breathing room. While it is an easy technology to deploy, to do it well, it takes a little bit more time and care. You want to make sure that's there and work across your organization. There's a specific set of activities, again, it's a byproduct of just how easy the portals are. You want to make sure you're not forgetting to do during your portal projects lifecycle. And you see some of them are fairly simple. Documentation. If you're doing customizations on top of our portal experiences, and most of our customers do, you want to understand where you've done those. Or if you're doing a very specific, maybe customization of calling a web service on a case create form, you want to make sure that as you're building that for your customer, you're leaving some kind of a breadcrumb and documentation that you've done that. So the customer is aware of what they need to make sure continues to operate after they leave if you didn't have a support engagement with them. So documentation is very, very important. And it's also important on any projects to make sure as you go through phases of implementation, you remember what you've done before and can reflect back and understand as you're adding more customizations, what are other customizations already on the form as you maybe change team members. The documentation is also going to help you to make sure if you have users and their criteria, to make sure you actually have test cases. Now, some of this agile methodology that a lot of our customers are adopting is helping them do so, but make sure that it's understood that you want to have critical business use test cases for what is a user supposed to be able to accomplish in a portal, and you can take that as the foundation to build test automation. The great news about Dynamics portals is because it's its own web player and property, it's not Dynamics. Dynamics actually there's a little bit of tricks to actually adding test automation on top of it, and we have some great tools like Easy Repro built on Selenium technology. You can use just about any web test technology because we're a fairly simple website that doesn't require a lot of special hooks or anything like that. So it's actually very easy for you to build test automation on our portals because of how easy that is surfaced as its own website. So you want to make sure you're doing that through the build process and not leaving that off for maybe, well, we'll get to it towards the end of the project because usually what happens at the end of the project, all new items and regressions are start coming up and you never get to it. You never get to it ever again. But once you had that test automation, all you have to do is run it at scale to get your performance benchmarking. A question that many customers never ask in their Dynamics implementation is always asked when we're talking about portals, and that's probably 1/3 of the questions I get. How scalable is portals, right? We haven't hit the scalability limit of our portals. We've hit scalability limits of designs that had to do with Dynamics because we are talking about Dynamics, the CDS instance behind the scenes, and the data actions are happening real time. When you have synchronous activities, workflows, and plugins on your case creates, those are going to affect your portal users as well in real time, right? The portal engages data in real time on Dynamics, so when you're making an action on the portal, those same workflows and rules are going to execute. That's a pro and a con, so you want to be aware of that. But benchmarking and testing can help you prove that your specific customization of not only portal, but also dynamic system, because that's important, is going to be able to do what you expect it to do in a production workload. You can add telemetry and monitoring, right? So we have Azure Monitor, Azure App Insights available to us, and something we recommend. But your marketing and .com team might already have a different product that they expect you to start to add and use. And there's other many solutions there, and it's very easy to add that snippet to our portal, and you can start capturing that telemetry. Start capturing that telemetry before you start getting into UAT test case scenarios and addressing that. And setting that up. As you obviously go into the operation, you want to monitor that telemetry. We have ways for you to do error log output and things like that, and that's all documented and live today. And you want to make sure that there isn't errors coming out of that as you operate. And as we update the service and you update the portal, you continue these best practices in making sure that you're actually operating portal as we update the web app monthly. We'll wrap up with resources and Q&A. The key to portals is knowing what portals does well, knowing its value proposition, and to do so, you got to get hands-on. So my call to action for you is not only look at these training resources, you can go and spin up a new trial, and all the trials today come with a portal add-on ready to configure, and you'll be able to experience Dynamics portals in a safe place away from your organization if you want to just play with it. Additionally, this is the home of the documentation. Right? This is the only home of our documentation for portals. We also list all of our service release updates and notes for our weekly patches so you can understand what we're shipping in the change management. And our official blog is one of our official communication there. We also have a great MVP community. And these are the names and websites of some of them. And they have a lot of fantastic content, and some of them have even YouTube channels where they're providing snippets of every feature on the portal. And we really wanted to thank them for their contribution to the knowledge and information that you have as customers and partners. And there's even a portals podcast if you're into that. So the ecosystem is healthy. Again, the portal roadmap session that I reference here is listed here. Please look at it in your schedule, and if for some reason you can't make it, or you're watching this later as a recording, likewise look this session up in the rest of the recording. At this point, I want to open it up for questions and hopefully get your feedback. So the question was, if you have a Dynamics portal, there's other obviously web properties. The web is a really big place at this point. I'm not sure how specifically the portal itself would onboard, and it's not an intake capability. It's a player of content and experiences and data interactions. I think your content maybe is more around kind of like market insight, where you're going in and seeing if there's maybe bad things being said, or there's maybe good things being said about your organization, and in those other places that you've mentioned around the web. So I would say that kind of capability would address a need like that. If you got questions, use the mic, please, so I don't have to re-summarize it. Yep, go ahead. So there was a licensing question, and my brain turned off. I'm kidding. Talk to your account team. If you're concerned that there might be a line that you're crossing with licensing, it's their call, not product engineering and marketing, unfortunately. So I would definitely urge you to talk to your account team. There are definitely scenarios in some of the distributor, contractor, and partner that get very gray very quick, and it's for somebody who's on your account, on the Microsoft account team, to make that determination with you. Those cases are very individualized, and I'm not able to answer that. But it is good to keep in mind. Thank you.
Okay.
Did you have a question? Okay.
Oh, sorry, I was going to the mic. I was trying.
He's on the broken speaker side.
You're on the broken speaker section. Sorry about that. One question. Looking in to deploy portals, there's like 6 or 7 different instances within that you can deploy.
Templates, yep.
Yeah, what is all the different, they're just the templates itself. They're all technically the same portal?
There's on our documentation page, there's actually a great little matrix of what do the templates do.
Okay.
Yeah,
and you can
each one of the templates, they're just reference templates, right?
Gotcha.
So when you deploy them, for example, the community one has forums, right? And the partner one has some partner capability, but the partner one also has the case management capability. With some elbow grease, you could create a super portal that addresses your customers, your partners, the community, and your employees. And employee self-service is a portal scenario that is real intangible. And
you only can use one of them. You can't use multiple.
You can deploy only one of our starter templates,
Gotcha.
but the templates themselves don't tell the portal. They tell the portal app what to show, but it doesn't mean that you can't look at that template, see how we're surfacing the form capability, and then reparent or draw those experiences into another portal and light it up. So that's what I said. A little bit of that, you're going to have to do some work, but it is possible to bring over those features. And the matrix is on our. It's not on that home page, but it's literally almost in that next leaflet. Yep. Yep. Okay, he's writing. Next.
So one of the issues we have using other environments to do a portal-like effect is matching up the data that we get from an anonymous website to our actual application data. Is there anything that you can sort of give us best practices along those ways? So, I mean, almost everybody's going to have an account, right, for everybody that comes on a portal, but then how do you match that user to the account, and how do you authenticate that user is eligible to speak on that account's behalf?
Yeah, that's something definitely to design. I think so your question was around kind of user onboarding and registration, and that's definitely kind of a deep topic because you can curate and design it in many different ways. If you're replacing an existing experience, my suggestion is to actually invite the users, right? That way they get a specific invite email, they know how to get there, and they're curated. The experiences where you provide a registration and then either use our capability or design your own capability to smart match that, I've always seen trouble in that. It's possible, but it's harder to do so. Or you provide an opportunity where somebody, when they register and they say, I represent, I'm Nikita and I represent Microsoft. Well, it says I, right? So how do you do that? Well, you don't let them log in and do anything more meaningful within the portal until somebody has that, maybe a visual confirmation or does actual user takes the process, says, okay, now you're approved, and you can have business automation to add a web role that lights up more capability for them, and now they're actually able to provide cases, or before that contact even is able to join that organization. But many times, you actually put the control of the organization. So in partner or customer care scenarios, you let the customer organization, the first user that you've registered and know and have that relationship, you give them the capability to self-manage their own users that log in and represent Microsoft. You'll have somebody like Nikita stand up and add other people and manage that within the portal itself. That is very possible. And the partner portal actually has at least an example of that. But you're free to design many other use cases. That's definitely one of them. Yep.
Hi. What would be your recommended approach to getting HTML, JavaScript, liquid templates, and stuff checked into source control and deployable through pipelines?
Yeah, one of the benefits of Dynamics portals is obviously it's all in CDS. The challenges with that, it's all in CDS. I would say today, right, for ALM tooling, we've got a recipe for configuration mover. That's okay. There's some great community tools like XRM Toolkit, Portal Mover that allows you to move between instances. But the source code itself, because it is just data in CDS, today I would look for opportunities and drive that conversation at CDS and Dynamics customer engagement holistically level, saying how do I actually do version control on reference data? Because portals is actually the biggest example of a large set of reference data. You have the website entity, and then maybe almost 24 entities below that of just data that's cascading as a tree under it. How do you actually do version control? We're not solving that just yet. I think we would solve that at CDS and Power Platform level. That's definitely a good question. I've seen customers do solution management, but then you need to kind of code in your experiences today. I know large, kind of partner organizations have solved that as part of what they do with the reference data today anyways.
I got two questions. First question is, where's the customer authentication stored at, and how often is synced with Dynamics 365?
So customer authentication, external authentication, and what's happening in Dynamics from Azure AD authentication, they're totally different. So when we deploy a portal for employee, and when you actually deploy a portal, there's a very important dropdown that says, who's the portal admin? And it's alphabetical, and it might not be the person you wanted to set up. What does that capability do is actually create a contact record with admin web role added to the Azure Active Directory user. So it's actually a Dynamics user, Dynamics 365 user. And that becomes your first contact that's able to log into the portal, and because they have an admin web role, they actually get the front end on the portal, its maker experience. So that's a reference for the portal, and Dynamics portal ships with Azure Active Directory integration pre-built in to allow that maker experience to happen quickly so you can get going. You can turn off that user right away or not use them at all. So there is no sync between that. There is a little bit of latency between Dynamics 365 customer engagement and the portal because there is caching happening on from Dynamics up to the portal. But there is no, as soon as you expire the user, it's going to be synced there up from there. In terms of the other external identities, that's going to happen there. So if you go to Azure Active Directory Business to Consumer, and you go there and turn off a user, they're turned off at the identity level right away. They can't even log in. So.
Got it. Thank you.
You talked about Power Platform integration with a portal. Do you have, or do portal have something in the roadmap to integrate Power Apps, Canvas app into the portal to build a custom UI?
That's a great question for the roadmap session later in a day.
Oh, great, awesome, thank you.
Today we're addressing model-driven experiences, but ask them the future-looking roadmap statement in the.
Great.
In
Which
this.
Dynamics 365 customer engagement already has that integration today with the Power Apps?
Yeah,
especially
so
the Canvas
Dynamics
app.
365 unified interface has an experience in bad Canvas experiences, but Dynamics 365 has a different player that's rendering that UI, right? Unified interface. Dynamics Portal is its own player that you define content on, and define the configuration. So it is its own unique interface, and that needs engineering to be able to do.
I'm not sure if you're referring to the Azure AD, Azure B2C authentication, or.
Like I said, it's best
Okay.
left for the follow-up for
Perfect.
the
Thank you.
roadmap session
Sure, thank
tomorrow.
you.
So we have like our digital marketing assets stored in another website, and we're wanting to like pull that into the portal. Is that possible?
Like
So-
HTML content, knowledge articles.
So they have
web
like
pages?
PDFs and images stored in a DAM, and then we're trying to pull that. Is it possible first?
Is it possible to integrate with other content management systems, right? Or another source for knowledge articles or pipeline? Not native. There's no configurable native. Like, okay, point us to a knowledge system or document repository. You'll kind of have to design. You either
So you'd
onboard
pull
ours
through
or you
their-
link, right? So I have organizations that do knowledge-based articles where the header lives in Dynamics because they use that within customer care and management, right? So when they're addressing tickets, they go and see a knowledge-based article, but the link to the actual, maybe PDF, let's say, of that is a URL, right?
It's
They
stored
click on
somewhere
that and it opens from the publishing and content management system that sits elsewhere, for example, right? So like if a large manufacturer has manuals, right? The manuals are not authored in Dynamics. We realize that, right? They're in that content management, but there is a permanent link to that manual. They'll put that in the knowledge article, for example.
Okay, so you
and
could
link that.
pull in using like APIs and get in there.
Well, now you're talking about how to actually access it. I was just saying the easy story for most customers is that they have a URL and you
Yeah.
click on a link and the document opens. You're talking about channeling through Dynamics. There's some API and
Yep.
going reaching into a content system and pulling down bits. Not
Is it
not at this
possible to
time.
do that, I guess?
No, and I hope you don't design it through
Okay.
plugins like I've seen some people try to do.
Good to
Don't
know.
do it, please. The way to actually do it is to use a companion web service and web application strategy. That is actually what we recommend. So you'll build an Azure function or you build an API front end, something you'll call from JavaScript, right, to that surface, and that .NET server-side application then has keys and security, how to go in real time, pull those bits down, right? So I've definitely seen customers do custom file storage integrations where they've coded a companion web application or a web service that goes and places files or retrieves files from maybe secure locations in real time on demand. Don't use the Dynamics plugin infrastructure to do that. It was never designed to do web service calls or anything like that, and you then putting the portal dependency. I've seen it done. I've seen blogs on it. It doesn't scale. You're cutting a corner. Use the companion web service strategy, and many times you'll want to secure that web service. We actually shipped a specific feature for that use case that does something specific with tokens to secure that process. So that's a developer feature to do that type of an integration to secure that web service call between our portal and an external web service. Yeah.
When I'm editing some of the more advanced, or I guess there aren't that many people here anymore. When I'm editing some of the more advanced aspects like JavaScript and CSS, is the best practice to go through the portal editor interface or to go through Dynamics 365? Because in some cases I've seen, code that I've changed, through the portal editor not float back down to,
So
365.
if you're seeing the delay,
Yeah.
right.
I'm
So if
talking about like, a day or two delay there, which
So we have you always going to get the worst experience with cache as a maker. because you're expiring, changing metadata. That's why we have a special feature for you. So that first administrator who set up that admin web role has the clear cache button. So you go / services, about, clear cache. If that doesn't clear cache and you still have something stuck, you should call support, like, because something else is happening that shouldn't be. That should be an outlier scenario.
I'm not talking from within the portal itself and the experience in the portal. You know, I'm in my test user and my admin user and checking out, that's working fine. I'm talking about that coming back down to the actual records within CRM itself, within Dynamics 365. So then I go and look at the web page, and occasionally I'll see those, you know, my changes not flow through there.
Yeah, that's where clear cache. So when you
so
when you
that
build and add content
Gotcha.
in CDS, you go in the portal app and use the clear cache as administrator. That will expire all of the cache in the portal, and it will fully draw brand new data. If you're still seeing stagnant data like JavaScript, that's because the browser is doing something silly for you. It's caching that old version for you, and you might need to do it in private browser and make sure that the browser is not trying to show you old content like the old CSS style. That I've seen I've bitten by that many times. I'm keep refresh. What's happening? Restarted my portal, reattached the portal. Like, oh, it's caching the CSS file. Yeah. Is the recording still on? We're cut? I assume it's cut.
Is there any way to display files directly from Azure Storage Blob to portal?
So there's native integration for file storage when you do at record level where it surfaces it. Yeah, but I mean you can link, right? You can write a link, but if you wanted to now build a secure way, right? I mean Azure Blob Storage, you can just put a GUID in there. Good luck guessing a GUID or GUID, whichever camp you're in, right? So security by obscurity, or if you want to actually design in the security for access of that file, you have to build your own kind of intermediary service for it. But yeah, we have SharePoint integration that places file directly in Dynamics, and Azure Blob native integration to where the file goes into Azure Blob transparently. So now, and that access is controlled.
Is there any way to display multiple entity lists in one web page?
There should be a couple blogs on that, actually. We can take a look at it.
All right, thanks.
You're the next speaker, or?
No.
Okay.
Just wanted to